I'll show you how you can use an iPad to draw on top of your live streams using the RØDECaster video. Hi, I'm Aaron Parecki. If you're not already familiar with the RØDECaster video, I'll leave links down below to a bunch of other videos I've done that go over all the features in the device. So right now, I want to jump into using an iPad to draw on top of your live streams. First things first, we need to connect the iPad into the RØDECaster video as one of the video sources. You have a couple different options for how to do this, one of which is to use a cable, a wired USB-C to HDMI adapter. I'm a big fan of this one because it keeps things pretty tiny. It's got USB-C on the end and then HDMI over here. You can also use a dongle like this kind that has a HDMI slot, and then you can run a cable there as well. If you don't want to run a wire, you can also do this wirelessly. For that, you'll need some sort of wireless AirPlay receiver. That could be an Apple TV, or it could also be this, the RGB Link ASK Nano. I've actually already got another video that goes over this device if you're curious, so that'll be linked down below as well. In either case, you need to get the HDMI into the RØDECaster video in one of the HDMI ports. If you're already using all your HDMI ports, you can also use a USB capture card into the USB-C port. This is actually a cheap HDMI capture card that has a USB-C on this end and an HDMI input on this end. So I can plug this into USB-C ports 4 or 5 on the end here, and now I've got an extra HDMI I can bring into the RØDECaster. But for this video, I do want to do this wirelessly, so I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. I've got one free HDMI slot here, and then I'll just give this some USB-C power on the end. When this thing turns on, you should see it appear in the preview on your RØDECaster. Now, this device actually has a couple of different modes you can put it into. It can either pair with an HDMI transmitter, or you can put it into AirPlay mode. So tap the button on the side until it says you're in AirPlay mode here. At this point, I can take my iPad and actually now connect the iPad to the hotspot that this is broadcasting. You'll see on the screen, it's telling you a Wi-Fi name and a password. So I can just go ahead on my iPad and connect to the Wi-Fi that this thing is broadcasting. Once the iPad is connected to the Wi-Fi that this is broadcasting, you can go and AirPlay this screen. If you pull down the screen mirroring, you should now see the ASK Nano appear. This will also work with an Apple TV. So when I do that, it should then mirror the iPad screen into the RØDECaster. And now we have a wireless link of this screen into the RØDECaster video. Next, we need an iPad app that can output whatever you're drawing onto it live out of the AirPlay or HDMI port. For this, I'm going to use the app called Procreate. The first thing I'm going to do in Procreate is actually create a new type of canvas that we're going to use. So I'm going to go and click this little plus sign up here, and I'm going to make a new type of canvas. So I'm going to tap the new canvas button, and this is where we can create the canvas of the right dimensions and also add the background color. So I'm gonna go ahead and type in 1920. I do want the canvas to be 1920 by 1080. I'm gonna go to canvas properties down here and change the background color. Now, this is because the way this is gonna work is we're actually going to green screen or blue screen the canvas out in the RØDECaster. So I actually need a background that is pure blue or pure green. So I can tap on the little icon over here, and then I can drag these sliders until I get a blue canvas. So I'm going to drag red and green down to 0 and keep blue at 255. And that'll give me perfectly blue canvas. We'll go ahead and click create. And now I've got the app open with a perfectly blue canvas. This does mean that if you ever wanted to draw anything that is blue, it won't show up. So if you do want to draw things that are blue, pick a green background. If you want to draw things that are green, pick a blue background. So the last thing you need to do is change the setting in Procreate to actually mirror the canvas instead of sharing the screen. Right now you can see we've got the toolbar and like the tools visible in the RØDECaster, which we don't want. So click on the little gear icon here and then click on project canvas, and that's going to change it to only output the actual canvas. And now as you are, even though you're like changing what's on the iPad screen, it's always outputting directly the canvas over to the RØDECaster. So next we have to actually set up the RØDECaster to blue screen this out. I'm going to go ahead and just put something on the screen here so we can see that it's going to actually work. We'll say hello. So go ahead and tap on the input that you've brought the iPad into so you can see it large here, and then press on the key icon. That's this little icon on the bottom. This brings up the keying menu. Now this is where you get to choose whether you want a green or blue screen. So we're going to scroll over, or you can just tap on that until you see the blue, and then click on transparent. And what that's going to do is it's going to make everything that's blue in the image transparent. It shows up black because there's nothing behind it yet. So now we see only the drawing on the screen here. The last part of this is to put this on top of one of your videos. So let's say I wanted to draw on top of the overhead shot. Well, there's one limitation in the RØDECaster video right now that means this doesn't work exactly the way I want it to. And I have told them about this, and they said it's possible they could change it in a firmware update. So we'll see if that ships. The problem is right now, I can't use any of the video sources as overlays. So if I go to the overlay menu only lets me choose graphics that are overlaid. I would like to be able to choose a video source. So instead, what we have to do is we have to actually make a picture-in-picture where this is one of the pictures inside of the other picture. So I'm gonna go ahead and tap on the camera I'm gonna use in the background, and I'm gonna create a scene out of this. To do that, I'm gonna go ahead and just long press on the B button here, which is right above the camera angle that I'm using. So now we have a scene with only one camera in it. This next part I need to do over in the Rode Central app because it's going to involve creating a custom layout, which is only possible in the software. So over in the Rode Central app, I'll tap on Scene Builder. And this will open up what looks like a little preview of the RØDECaster, and this is where we can create custom scenes. So with B selected here, I can click over to this area and add another camera angle on top. So I'm gonna click on the plus. So now there's another layer here, and I can change what camera angle goes into this layer. So I'm gonna click on the little 2 arrows, and I'll choose inputs, and I'll choose my input number 4, which is the iPad. And because we've already set up the keying, that now anything that was blue is now transparent. So it actually shows up on top. And I do want it to be the full size of the canvas. If you wanted to shrink it down and only be able to draw in party video, you could do that as well. I have also noticed that sometimes the iPad ends up with little black borders on the top or bottom, depending on how you turn on the screen sharing. So if you do need to crop the canvas, you can do that as well. If you do have black borders on the sides, you can drag these in from the side and it'll actually crop it. But mine worked fine right now when I did it this way, so I'm gonna leave it full screen. So this is now saved as scene B. So if we go back and look at the RØDECaster, I can now switch between the different cameras. I can go to my main camera, my overhead camera, or my side camera. And if I wanted to be able to draw on top of the overhead camera, I can just go ahead and press on scene B now. Now that my iPad is wirelessly connected into the RØDECaster, I can just go ahead and draw whatever I want on top of the screen and it appears. Of course, the limitation is that you can't really see where on the iPad you're going to be drawing on top of your video. So it's not an exact science, but that's about as good as we're going to get here. If you did want to draw on top of your other video sources as well, you just have to make new scenes with those sources. The easiest way to do that is to copy scene B into other scenes. So if you have scene B selected, you can now hold down on C, and it makes a copy of that scene. And then back in Rode Central with scene C selected, you can change the background layer. You can change that overhead to be your side angle instead. And now on the RØDECaster, you can see we have 2 scenes, both have the overlays available. And we're drawing now on top of either scene C or scene B. It has the same overlay. Now you can even go ahead and use any of the brushes that you have available in Procreate. It can be fun things that look like painting. You can use different colors, just as long as I don't use anything too close to blue. I can paint with other colors in here as well. You can use something that looks more like a pencil in an orange or in a red. So you can get really creative here and mark up your videos with all sorts of different fun things. So that's it. That's how to draw on top of your live streams using the RØDECaster Video and an iPad. I'll leave links to everything that I use for this video down below. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.